So today is Sunday the 30th of June. I worked yesterday at the clinic. Today I'm planning on writing. I've got the manuscript for book 2 here and book 1. And then I've got some books that have information that I have to get to for book 3 and book 4. I want to try and finish. I've got a whole bunch of, I don't know if you can see it, red sections here on book 3 that I need to fix, and then I want to get going writing book 4. I've also got my mum's Marley here, my mum's dog, who's also called Marley, and my dog, who's called Marley, here. So we've got Marley Moo and Marley Sue. And I've got tomorrow off, which is somehow July, and I got a bunch of medical appointments to do tomorrow. So today is really my only chance to write. So let's see how much I can get. So we're going to kick off with breakfast at lunchtime. Hey Marley Sue. Hi Marley Sue. Can you say hi to everyone? Do you want some of my muesli, do you? Is that what you're hanging out here for? Muesli. Can have a little bit. Ready? Oh, you missed it. What's up, Bobby? Come here, sweetheart. Come on. Oh, puppies. So we've got 2 Marleys here, both of them fighting over one bed. He doesn't want his bed. She wants it because it's super comfortable and by the fire, but he doesn't want her in it. Oh, Marley Sue, life's tough. So an hour has passed since I last left you. I have written 701 words. I have cleaned out the fireplace and put the fire on. I've had dog dramas, and literally 5 minutes ago one just vomited on the floor all over the carpet, and then the other one, who's out the back, went ballistic, and he never goes ballistic like that. He'll bark at people and quite enjoys barking at people when they walk past, but they can't actually walk past my place. It's quite private and secluded, and where he was right up on the rocks, so it would be almost impossible for another animal or like someone's cat or dog to walk past, or for a human to walk past without me being able to see them. And I went up to the rocks because he was full on growling and like quite unhappy about whatever it was, which is a very unusual reaction for him. And I couldn't see anything, which means that it was quite possibly snake, or maybe, I don't know if goannas are in this area, but something a bit dodgy that he hasn't seen before. And yeah, so this is fun. So it should be an eventful weekend and likely highly unproductive. So let's keep going and see how we go. So end of the day, and I got another 1,000 words done, but I'm basically just procrastinating between bursts of small amount of writing. So it's 1,700 words total for today. I'll probably write a bit more now, but I really just lost my way after the dogs. So I might just chill out and watch a movie and make dinner and see how I go later, but I think I'm pretty much done for the day. So today is day 2 of my writing time, and hopefully I will get a little bit done today, but I'm not feeling the best. My niece was really sick when I looked after her on Friday, and she coughed in my face a few thousand times, so I think I'm getting a mild version of her plague. And I've just got back from having tests done at the hospital, so it's already after 1 o'clock, so I'm not sure how much I'll get done. I managed in the end nearly 2,500 words yesterday, but there's still much more to be done. So while I was eating lunch, I was actually reading an article about Taylor Swift and how devastated she is that Scooter Braun has basically purchased the rights to her back catalogue of music from her previous publishing company. If you follow me on Instagram, which is @pipcoombs, or you've watched any of my previous videos on YouTube, you'll see that I've referenced a documentary by 30 Seconds to Mars and Jared Leto that's called Artifact. Now, in this documentary, it's really super interesting. It's about the battle that 30 Seconds to Mars had with their record label when they tried to sue the band for $30 million because they wanted to get out of their contract, and they'd never paid the band a dime for their albums. And they also interview heaps of other artists of varying levels of fame and in different kind of fields, and it's really interesting to have a look at how these creative contracts often are constructed, and how the artist has to do obviously the lion's share of the work and they do the creating, but they walk away with so little and they lose the rights to their work, and they often have really poor financial reimbursement. And watching that documentary was a real turning point for me. I had been going back and forward a little bit on wondering whether I was going to self-publish or try and find a publisher, and then I just was kind of like, no way, I'm self-publishing 100%, because I want to retain the rights, I wanted to retain creative control. It was a really big eye-opener, that documentary, and so I think it's wonderful that Taylor Swift is is talking about what it's like to then struggle with the impacts of a contract you signed at 15 that basically took away your rights, and that people might say that they're loyal and all of this sort of stuff, but that doesn't mean they're going to give you the first chance to buy back your own catalog so that you can own it. I absolutely think this is a super important issue, that if you're a author or a musician or anything where you're looking for a larger company to publish or create your work or support your artistic adventures, that you really need to look very carefully at the contract, because you might not own what you're creating. And that's pretty scary. I think if you create it, you should own it. So I mean, that's a really big reason why I self-published. I'm doing a video, it's, I've already done it, it's scheduled for release soon, on the major reasons why I self-published, and this is a really, really big one, and I would just really strongly suggest that even if you don't like Taylor Swift's music, and I gotta say I'm not a huge fan, but I respect her hustle and her openness and her willingness to fight for her own rights. I really would encourage you to read the article and read what she says. And sure, there are two sides to every story, but it's important that if you're an artist wanting to release your art into the world, that you look at the implications for contracts you potentially sign, for agreements you are possibly linking your work up to, and what you stand to lose versus what you stand to gain. Now, I know that the chances of anything ever coming from the fact that I've published books is slim to none, but someone can dream. What if someone wanted the movie rights to your books? What if? You don't want that to then be destroyed or manipulated or changed from its base and restructured in such a way that it barely is recognizable as yours, and it basically kills this thing that you've worked on and loved. You need to retain your creative rights. You need to retain some control and some say in what happens to your work in the event that the very unlikely happens and it goes beyond a book or whatever. But just make sure you're aware, make sure you're looking at what you're signing. And I just thought that was an important side note to take before I get back to writing. So in the end, I got nearly 3,000 words done today, and I'm starting to lose my voice, which is only slightly problematic given that my work week starts tomorrow, but whatever, vitamin C and I'll be fine. So I have also, apart from writing the 3,000 words, I've done a little bit of editing. I've mostly been working on book 3 in the Phoenix series. As I've said before, book 1 in the Phoenix series, which is The Hunted, is out now. Book 2 is about to go off for a final round of editing. Book 2 picks up where book 1 left off. So at the end of The Hunted, William Phoenix, one of the main characters in the story, found out that he is the Ophir, that he is the one the prophecy spoke of, and he accepted that, and there are implications for that. And I don't want to spoil the story for anyone, but I might talk about this in a future a future video on YouTube. And so book 2 picks up and really goes through the consequences of him understanding who he is and what that means, and the consequences of accepting who he is. And book 3, yeah, I'm not going to talk about book 3 yet. So I hope you've enjoyed this writing vlog weekend with me. I have no idea if it's of any interest to anyone. Hopefully it is. I think there is definitely a topic of conversation that has come up this weekend with Taylor Swift and her master copies, and I don't think it really matters which side of that equation you're on. I think as an artist it provokes a really interesting conversation that we need to have, and as far as I'm concerned, this is actually tea that's worth getting in on. I think that we all need to be really aware of the implications of the contracts that we sign and the agreements that we make, and the fact that those things have consequences, and that you might not be able to retain the rights to your work depending on what kind of contract you sign. I think being a writer is hard enough as it is. You spend so much time creating your work, you spend even more time thinking about it, and I think for a lot of people it's hard to let go of the final work, because you have to admit that you've created something, which can be hard to do because there's lots of social judgment, and especially from your immediate circle there is the potential for some not so positive ideas and not so positive feedback. But it's also really hard to let go of the work, because once you put it out there into the world, then the story sort of belongs to the reader, and they can make it their own little world, which is kind of wonderful, and also I think for some people kind of terrifying. But you have to find a way to let go and let your product be out there. But I think if you can be sensible about the way you do that, if you can put a product out there that's really well thought out, and that you've protected, I think that that's a really important thing to come from this weekend. And it's a conversation that I've had a number of times with people, and I think it's really important to protect your intellectual rights, and it's really important to back yourself as a creator and as an artist, or whatever you want to call yourself. And I think that if everybody just takes a little minute and learns from the tea that's being thrown around wildly everywhere at the moment about this sort of Taylor versus Scooter versus Demi versus Justin versus God only knows who else, is that, you know, that there are really some significant pitfalls to being an artist and to putting your work out there. But it doesn't mean you should be afraid to do so. It does mean you should read the fine print, and you should back yourself and be aware of the implications, and don't just get really excited because someone's offering you a contract. Read it, make sense of it, and try and not lose sight of the thing that you've created, so that you don't lose the thing that you've created. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. I think my brain has stopped working and my tonsils are slowly exploding. So I am done for this weekend, and I will maybe see you in more vlogs in the future. Maybe not, I don't know. I got a hectic work period coming up. And yeah, I hope you're all well. Bye.